Hey guys, today is Meet the Attorney, and today I have a brand new topic for you. We're going to get into discussing estate planning, why you need an estate plan, and all that good stuff. And I got a great guest for you, one of the top attorneys in the state of Ohio. Can't wait to get into the episode. So without further ado, enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are looking to substantially increase your caseload in the next 6 months, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' a week thus far. As I said in the pre-intro, today is Meet the Attorney, and I've got a special guy to introduce you to today. His name is Mike Menninger. Mike, how's it going?
I'm good, Frank. How are you?
I am loving life, and I'm happy to have you on here.
I appreciate you having me.
All right. Actually, this is going to be my first. Your topic is going to be the first topic this year in the Meet the Attorney episode of my podcast. So I'm very excited to learn more about your firm and everything. But before we get to all the questions that I have in my head for you, I would like for you to introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what do you do.
I appreciate that. So, my name is Mike Menninger. I'm a partner owner at Menninger Law in the greater Dayton, Ohio region. I'm a board certified estate planner by the Ohio State Bar Association, and our firm is a boutique law firm. So we focus on all things kind of related to estate planning. So I do the estate planning piece, and my partner, Rachel, is a certified elder law attorney. And then we've got an estate settlement practice alongside to make sure that we can help our clients and their families when that time comes. So we try not to stray too far from what we're good at. There's other lawyers that are good at other things, and we try to connect ourselves with, but we're in this little niche here on the estate planning world.
Awesome. Estate planning, that was a huge topic, especially after COVID. I remember I have several clients who are estate planners, and they were quite busy around that time. So, is estate planning one of those things in your estimation or your expertise? Do you think estate planning is one of those things that's an afterthought for people like you, like people like me, excuse me, not attorneys, but people like me who's just a regular Joe walking down the street?
Yeah, I think that there's a perception. There's two perceptions, I think, that kind of pervade the community on estate planning. Number one is I don't have enough, so I don't really need to worry about it. And then number two is, well, maybe I should worry about it, but I'll get to it later, right? Life's full of triage and all sorts of reasons for us to prioritize correctly or not when how we want to get things done. But this is a very casual way of putting it, but I've said this probably 1,000 times. If you got anything or anyone you love, you probably need an estate plan.
Okay. Because it's funny. I never thought of it. I used to always, as long as you have a will, you're good. Right.
So, but Frank, that is an estate plan. It may or may not be enough or all that you need, but to have a will is part of having an estate plan. To have a power of attorney is part of having an estate plan. Estate planning doesn't necessarily have to be sophisticated tax or asset protection strategies. It can just be making sure you've given a good set of instructions and delegated authority where appropriate. But it's about the conversations and the goals. It's not necessarily about how complicated.
So I don't feel bad anymore.
No, you shouldn't. In fact, you're ahead of the curve. So there's a statistic out there, and I couldn't tell you exactly where it comes from, but people estimate that about 2/3 of the people in this country don't do any real meaningful planning. So that you even have a will puts you on the good side of the curve.
Huh. Okay, awesome. I don't feel bad then. Because I've always had a will, because it was funny when I used to, before I started my own business, the company I worked for, the insurance plan, as part of the insurance, they gave us a free will. So, and they had like 10 attorneys to pick from. You just go down there, and then, that obviously they get paid from the insurance, but you just go there. And so I've always had one because of that. And then I just kept it after I left my business. I just hired another attorney, and they did all that. But I thought estate planning was a little bit more, well, it probably is more sophisticated than what that is, but it's nothing sophisticated at all.
It can be. I tell people sometimes the beauty of my job and the pain of my job is I can make things as complicated as you want, right? So anyway.
So tell me something. There are a plethora of estate planning attorneys in your area, I'm sure, in Dayton, Ohio, in the greater Dayton, Ohio area. What makes your firm or you specifically different from the other guy down the street?
I think it's hard, and this is not pointing fingers at you. It's a little difficult for me to necessarily talk about what other people do as part of their practices. I can tell you that when Rachel and I founded this firm, we did it built on the idea that this practice area needs heart. With LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer and sort of everybody on every street corner, and there's over 50,000 of us in Ohio, lawyers. I mean, it's not difficult to put together a will or a power of attorney for somebody, but I think if you want to do this right, like I said, it all comes down to heart. You got to be willing to get to know your clients. You got to be willing to hear their message. You got to be willing to handhold and make sure that you're not just in a document transaction. I think that's the risk that a lot of people have out there, is they end up with a document transaction instead of counsel, advice, an ally, right? An advisor. So if there's one thing that, and maybe it differentiates us or maybe it doesn't, but if there's one thing that I'm really proud of, that I know is not always the case out there, it's that we do this with heart, that we really want to focus on the relationship and the results and not just slinging documents, if you will.
Yeah. No, that is a differentiator, because not everyone sees it that way. Now, what is the sweet spot? What are the types of clientele? Is there any particular type of age group or whatever that's a sweet spot for your firm?
So, yes and no. There's the sort of that mindset that we were talking about a little bit earlier when we were chatting about, who does these things, and people delaying things for various reasons, things like that. Our average client is probably your typical 60 to 65-year-old retiree or nearing retirement. Because I think there's two factors in life that play in. Number one, when people retire, they tend to really focus on their financial and estate planning. They've probably got a little bit more time to dedicate to doing it meaningfully. And the other factor that I think we see anecdotally is this is when they're going through the estate stuff with their own parents, right? So mom or dad has a long-term care event in the nursing home that was costly, or somebody's, passed away, and they're trying to, sort through everything to get things transitioned. So probably not a direct answer to your question. I'll try to circle back, but you said, what is a sweet spot? Our average client is that, because that's who typically does the planning. But I mean, honestly, I'm 41 years old. I've got a family with young kids. I'm pretty well insured, but there's a lot at stake for my kids if something were to happen to me and my wife. And I think we're an underserved demographic. And so I really enjoy working with my contemporaries too, because while I can sort of academically and through experience with my own family and my clients, I can relate to people a generation up from me. I don't live that life with them yet. So it's one thing to know it. It's another thing to be in it. And I'm in it when I get to work with young couples and families with kids growing up. And I really enjoy that part of my practice too. And so for me, from a dollars and cents standpoint, it's the retirees, but from a sweet spot, personally, emotionally, connection wise, I love working with people my age.
Yeah. It's funny. As I said to you before, when I was working a regular job for a company, I did a fair amount of travel. And although they offered it free, I never got my will done. But I had this experience, and I was about I'm 55 now. I was probably 40, maybe 41, and had this experience going to California that it was horrible, horrible. And
Okay.
Was it going or coming? I know it was that trip to California. And all I know is the only thing I said to myself is if I get home safely, first thing I'm doing is taking advantage of that will thing, because I had nothing to that point. At that point,
Am I allowed to ask
nothing.
you questions, Frank?
Go right ahead, man.
So what happened?
In the airplane, or?
Yeah, I mean, this is an epiphany, right?
Yeah, it was some heavy turbulence.
Okay.
The whole thing came down, the masks and
Yikes.
everything. Everyone had to assume the position for landing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And anyway, thank God. I mean, obviously I'm here.
Yeah, here
So,
you are. That's right.
but that was a few years ago, and I'll never forget. I remember saying to myself, I'm taking advantage of that free will thing. Because it's something that I guess you don't think about until something happens, a la
Right.
COVID. All of a sudden, I'm sure you were very busy. All of my estate planning attorneys were, they were canceling because I have part of my programs. I have a monthly review. Hey, how's your traffic going? And stuff. They were canceling it left and right because they were so busy creating documents for that year and a half period.
Yeah.
Then, last year is when it started going back to normal, if you will.
Normal pace.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. So I understand the whole going back to the sweet spot, but I understand where your passion lies, because that is more your demographic. That's who you are. And you want to educate people who are like you, at least in your age group. Hey, this is why you should do it. Right.
Well, I mean, I think in general, we all like working with people that we connect with, right? I don't think that's unique to me or to my psychology. And, I'm good at the other stuff. It's just, I think about a young couple that's got young kids and it hits home for me. It just lands a little bit differently is all.
Out of curiosity, so you're in Ohio. Do you do any kind of work outside of Ohio for estate planning?
I do. I'm licensed in Indiana and Kentucky as well. So I have some clients, although, for the most part, we try to serve our community. So I would say probably 95 or even higher % of our clients are Ohio-based clients. But I have clients that move. I have clients that have connections elsewhere. I collaborate with other attorneys elsewhere where there's jurisdictional things that might be appropriate, but I'm not licensed to practice anywhere other than those 3 states. And for the most part, even when I'm doing work out of state, it's either related to real estate that a client here owns, or it's collaborating with somebody else where there's other opportunities to engage people to take advantage of laws in other jurisdictions.
Awesome. So actually that spewed on a different question. I was going to ask you something, but you said something that made me change my mind. I'm gonna pivot a little bit. I'm gonna put a little audible for all you football fans out there. You mentioned something that I know a lot of people who are listening want to know this. So I hire you, I hire your firm to do my estate plan. You've done a great job. It's 5 years down the road. I live in Ohio. Everything's great. Now, all of a sudden, my job or something takes me to Texas or wherever, California. What happens then?
So Frank, there's an old lawyer joke, and I'll put it in front of you here. So when a client or prospect asks me a question, what's my answer? Always, it depends.
Yeah,
It depends.
That's usually the
yes,
the lawyer answer. It depends. Yeah,
yeah, right. It gives us room to maneuver, right? No, but honestly, there's wisdom in that, because it really does depend on the circumstances. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in the law of every state. I have had clients that have moved, that have kept Ohio trusts, but otherwise will update their powers of attorney and other documents to basically track the laws in the state that they moved to. Right? Ohio's got some nuances, like any state does. So if somebody were to move here from out of state, I would also recommend that they would revisit those documents to make sure that there isn't a way that they could be improved. Or, if nothing else, I tell this anecdote all the time too. Ohio doctors are used to seeing Ohio healthcare powers of attorney, right? Ohio is a very specific format that is pretty ubiquitous, and that's what they're used to seeing. And I know that other states have different, even if it's a visual nuance or a substantive nuance or whatever it is. Why not position yourself as good as you can to make sure that you got success? Because when people are relying on these documents, they're typically relying on them in times of disability or death. They need to do what they need to do. So whenever I have a client that moves, one of my first things to do is to put them in contact with a colleague of mine, wherever they happen to be going. I'm not so proud that I got to keep it all. I want to make sure my people are taken care of.
Okay. So what I'm understanding is that, you move, you call your attorney, your estate planning attorney, you tell them, hey, I'm moving to Zimbabwe. You know anyone there? He mails the stuff to Zimbabwe, and then, whatever happens there. Okay, gotcha. I'm assuming the same happens with you. Like if someone moves into Ohio and they'll contact you, a colleague of yours will contact you. And okay, gotcha. Interesting. I was always curious about that.
Sure. Well, yeah. And that anybody even would pay attention to that is, again, a good thing, puts them in the right mindset to get good planning done. But yeah, I will meet people regularly who move here and somehow are able to find us. And sometimes we have to do things. Other times, there's not so much that needs to be done. It really, pardon me going back to this particular but it depends, right? But I think everything takes a little TLC. Any change in life or circumstance at least warrants a conversation, and figure out the work to be done from there.
Gotcha. Now you said something else that triggered another question. You said,
"You're welcome. You're welcome."
You said, however they find you. So how are people finding you these days? As you know, this is a marketing show.
Sure.
What are people doing? What are you doing to make sure that your pipeline is always full?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, attorney, are you running a lot of digital ads, or maybe even SEO, Facebook ads, et cetera, and you're not getting the results that you're hoping for? Have you been trying to generate leads online, and although you are getting some results, you're thinking, man, something's got to be wrong because I should be getting a lot more attention? Well, if that's you, I want to help you out. Give us a call, 888-416-7752. I'd love to sit down, find out a little bit more about your business, and see if we can help you. Now, even before you do that and before we sit down and talk, I'd love for you to go to our website, lbmsllc.com. Once you type that, you're going to see on the top right-hand corner of the page a little green button that says Free Online Report. I want you to click on that button, fill out the form, and you will be emailed within 24 hours a free online report as to see exactly what's going on in your business, how are you showing up online. And that's the first step to be able to decipher exactly what's going on in your business. So if you would love a free analysis and to help us to get you to the next level, Take that action right now. Download the free online report, and that will be the first step. Then give us a call at 888-416-7752, and we will schedule some time together. So with that, I'm going to bring you right back to the show.
Yeah, as we've been growing, I've been learning. I don't know that I've got all the answers or have made all the right steps along the way, but we try to generate content. We try to do it regularly and try to push it out there through our social media platforms. I think we've got a really good set of allied professionals and other advisors that will refer us business. And then we also have clients that send us business, right? You take care of John and Jane Doe, they might send you, Mark and Meredith. But again, we're trying to learn all this stuff too, right? So we're trying to make connections with facilities and trying to figure out how often generate content. And we're in the middle of kind of updating our website to try to, add some other features there and lead magnets and things like that are certainly beneficial, even if they don't lead to direct business. I think some of this stuff you pay it forward and you hope that you plant enough seeds that when people need you, they come back around. So we're trying to do all the right things. But up until a couple of years ago, I was always, doing it for somebody else. Now I'm doing it for me. So I'm trying to learn it all. And my partner's, she's up there too. So relationships and trial and error.
I love it. I love an attorney that goes out there, tries to do it themselves and has success with it. That's not a common thing you see these days, but so kudos to you and your partner for doing that. That's awesome. Especially content's the way to go. Content's the way to go. So I'm glad you said that. All right. So another shift gears a little bit now just to the future. So 5 years from now, where will you and your firm like to be? What are your goals?
That's a great question. So we've got revenue targets where we want to scale to. I think while we have not made all of the right steps up to this point, I think we've made some pretty good ones, and so I think we're well on our way to getting our revenue targets lined up over this 5-year period. So right now there's 6 of us in the office. It started off with me and my partner at our kitchen table, and now there's 6 of us. I think in 5 years there'll probably be maybe 10 of us, maybe 12 of us. Who knows where that ends up, right? That's all. You can have plans, but as things change around you, I want people to know our logo. I want people to know our brand. So we serve this sort of swath of the community in the south part of Dayton and in the eastern part of Dayton. And in 5 years, I'd love to be known as kind of synonymous with estate planning and elder law, right? If you need this, I see it everywhere. HM law, estate planning, elder law. That's really where I want to be in 5 years. We've got some other attorneys in the area who also have great reputations and who we have good relationships with. And, we're collaborators at heart, but if I'm doing my job right on the marketing side and I'm doing my job right on the delivery side with clients, I think that's very attainable in 5 years.
Oh yeah, easily. And you're doing the right things because content's the way to go. You're pushing up content out there. As you say, you're planting enough seeds, and that's the way. Especially using the tools like social media makes it so much easier. Just 15 years ago, when social media wasn't as easily used, was more difficult than now, and that's just 15 short years ago.
And we're not pros at it. I mean, I assure you, I'm far from a pro at it. We're getting to the point now where we need to start, instead of DIYing everything, need to start delegating some of these things, just because, as we're starting to grow and where time gets focused. But yeah, it's content, it's consistency, it's pushing it out there. I know we've got some room for improvement. I do.
Awesome. Well, this has been really, really, really great. I'm glad that you were able to spend this time with us and let us know about your firm. I think you're doing some great stuff from a marketing perspective, and
Thank
also
you.
just standard law. Uh, what is the website that people could? I'm going to put a link to the website. But what is the website
Appreciate that.
that you have right now so people could take a look at it?
Yeah. So our website is hmestateplanning.com. So the H for Hauk, my partner, and the M for Menninger, me, hmestateplanning.com. We got a blog up there, and stay tuned because we're going to be adding some features here probably over the next 60 days and giving a little bit of an overhaul. So, I appreciate the plug.
Awesome. And I also like to connect people. I know you and I connected on LinkedIn. I'd love to put your LinkedIn information on the show notes as well. So if someone wants to speak to you directly, they can do that as throughout this medium here. But before I let you go, Mike, I know you're a very busy man. Is there anything I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
I think maybe one of those things out there is like, how do you not necessarily market to the clients? How do you get the clients? And I think one of the underrated parts of kind of the marketing sales process is just having a real honest conversation with people, right? Like meeting people and trying to break through all the barriers and not sitting and trying to, give away all the answers necessarily. But in my business, if you really want to help people, you got to get to know them. And it starts with an honest conversation. And if you can't have that, then you're probably going down the wrong path. So the marketing needs to be to try to find those people. And then those conversations need to be to dial in on that,
Great.
Truth.
Love it.
Truth and heart, Frank. Truth and heart.
Yeah. I love it. Awesome stuff. So you're on your way, my friend. You're on your way to some huge things with this firm. Kudos to you and your partner for doing it, and as they say, hanging your shingle and making sure that you take care of the greater Dayton, Ohio area and beyond. All right, so I'm going to put an end to this episode. I really, really love it. This is, like I said, it was my first estate planning episode of this year for the Meet the Attorney episode. So I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Reach out to Mike, even if you're outside of the Dayton area. Reach out to him. I'm sure he'll help you. He's a great guy. So until next week, this has been Frank Fleming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Mike Menninger. Take care, everyone. Until next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you would like to know more about the topic we discussed on the show today, reach out to Frank and his team at 888-416-7752 and schedule a discovery call with one of the marketing consultants. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send an email to podcast@lbmsllc.com and we will put you on the schedule. With that being said, until next week, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.